Returning to the show this evening is my Season 1, Episode 7, and my Season 3, Episode 9 guest. I am also joined by a very special co-host as well. Hey everyone, it's Randy Halsey with Backstage Pass Radio, and all three of my guests on the show today hold the honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame status in their respective trades. We're going to find out what's new and exciting with Randy Jackson and Felix Hanemann of the rock band Zebra, and I'm going to do that with my sidekick, Dayna Steele, who was the voice of Houston Rock Radio 101 KLOL for 20 years. Sit tight, and Dayna and I will jump into all things Zebra right after this.
This is Backstage Pass Radio, the podcast that's designed for the music junkie with a thirst for musical knowledge. Hi, this is Adam Gordon, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn alerts on for this and all upcoming podcasts. And now, here's your host of Backstage Pass Radio, Randy Halsey.
Randy, Felix, and Dayna, welcome back to the show, all three of you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Fellas, it's great to, of course, see you again. I think the last time I saw you was backstage. Felix, you and I spoke a little bit about this earlier, but backstage at the Rise Rooftop show here in Houston. And I didn't realize it, Felix, that it was pre-pandemic. Was it that far back that you guys were here? Seriously?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Time flies.
I'm like, you're not kidding.
I call that's all of us have now had a John Lennon lost weekend. That was about 2 years or more.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole world.
Exactly.
Well, because we're all skewed. We'll go, 4 years ago, and somebody will go, oh no, that was 6 years ago, or that was, because we're all skewed by that weird couple of years where we were locked down or
yes,
whatever.
Indeed, we were. And Dayna, welcome back to the show. You were just on recently, so you and I are fresh off the mics here together. But it's good to see you again, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of my favorite bands, and it's the only band who ever drank out of my shoes. So I'll do whatever you ask me to do with Zebra.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and Randy and Felix, I'm glad you guys jumped back in with us after some time. Randy, it's been 3 years now since you came on my show. I don't understand where the time goes, man. 2021, yeah. It seems like it was just not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have even said 2 years.
No, no.
Like a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah,
that's correct.
I'm thinking so too. Well, what's been keeping you specifically, Randy? What's been keeping you busy since we spoke last?
Well, I've been recording. We're recording the new Zebra record right now, and so I've been doing a lot of overdubs at this point. Most of the guys' drum parts are done, and the arrangements of the songs are done. And I've just been trying things. And the great part about recording this way, because I'm doing it all at home, is that you can, do a version of the song, listen to it and live with it a little bit, and then come back in, with the knowledge that you don't have to spend $200,000 an hour, to do another version of it. And, at this point in our lives, I think it's a good advantage to have,
100%.
Are you in the studio together, or are you all in your own home studios and record and then you mix it together?
Guy lives down in Louisiana. So I went down there, and Guy has his own studio down there with his drums all set up. Sounds are all good. And so I went down there with Guy, and we just worked on the arrangements of the songs. I had the parts for him to listen to, to know what the songs were, but we just worked on the arrangements. And then, and Guy took that. I left. I was there with him for about a week, and then I left, came back up to New York, and he sent me the tracks online. He sent me like 3 or 4 different versions of each song, and then we would just go from there. We'd just trade the tracks back and forth, and it works great. I mean, I don't think we've really done a record where we all played at the same time in the studio since the first album. It's been that long. We played live for like 8 years before we ever did a record. And then once we did that first record, the tech nerd in me went kind of crazy with things, and it became more of an overdub session, on most of the records, but even back then it was a good thing to be able to do, because we could kind of do what I was just talking about, do versions of the songs and go back and listen and not have to worry that something was written in stone. So
yep. Well, isn't it nice that technology is there at our fingertips these days, where you can actually do things from a remote distance? Everybody doesn't have to be in the same room anymore, much, I guess like you did 30, 40 years ago, right? Everybody had to be in a studio somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, you needed a studio, you needed engineers, and, it took a lot of livelihoods out of a lot of people who were making their livings being engineers and studio owners, which is a drag, but that's what technology does. It just, it makes things a little quicker, and I'm afraid that AI is only going to make it worse.
Boy.
It's going to replace all of us. I have a question. Now, my husband flew for NASA for years, so he would be gone for a long time, and then he would come home, and it would be like, okay, leave. So when the three of you get together, because you are able to record this way now, so you're apart from each other for a long period of time, but the three of you are like an old threesome. You're like an old married couple, except there's three of you. When the three of you get together in a studio, in a room, and whatever, does it, like it used to take me a while when my husband had been gone for 3-4 weeks for a shuttle launch, it would take me a while to get used to, okay, we got to get him back into the groove. Does it take you guys a while to get back into the groove, or do you just, after 50 years, pick up right where you left off?
I feel like we do. If Randy has stuff for me to learn and everything, I try my best to get it all down, and then sometimes if I have the time, or he has the time, then I'll get together with him before I even get together with him and Guy. So, and I'm going over that stuff, so that by the time we get there, most of it's in pretty good shape. I mean, we might tweak it here and there, or I might make mistakes here and there, but it's pretty much that's the way I practice now all the time. Just for the shows that we do, I practice with all of our recorded stuff all the time. We don't practice hardly at all together anymore, except for like when we were doing the symphony stuff.
The camaraderie is still there. When we get in a room together, it's not like we have to get readjusted to each other. Our personalities are pretty much the same. And I think the biggest difference between, now and back then is our memories. We have
with you on that one.
It takes a little longer to kind of pull things from the back. But, over the years, we actually work a little quicker now, because, all the ridiculous things that we used to argue about back in the day are less now. I'm not saying we don't get ridiculous. We can get really stupid. But I think we know, we wish we had a tape recorder sometimes back then. And you know how it is. You said this. No, we don't do any more. You said this, you said that. We just, in general, we just move forward from where we are. And, and I think it works better that way. But, we're family. I think we see each other more off stage than on stage.
Randy, are you calling in from New York right now, or are you at home in New York?
Yeah, I'm at home. Felix is at home too, I think. Felix?
Yeah, I'm home.
I'm home.
Everybody's home. That's great. Felix, it's good to see you, man. You came on the show about, I think it was almost a year after Randy did. And so it's been a little while since you and I have talked. Of course, we've all of us have stayed in touch since the interview, off and on, when time permits. But how's life in the family up in New York for you, sir?
Fantastic. To me, it's just summertime. It's just it's my season, man. I'm just so happy to be home right now, and the weather's been incredible, and just loving life.
Yeah, and all we're doing here in Houston is complaining about the weather right now. It's just too hot. It's too hot. I feel bad for
y'all. Listen,
I've been home for 24 hours. I'm like, my skin is glowing. It's lovely, but dying out here.
The humidity has its pros and cons, for sure. For sure it does. Well, what's keeping you busy these days, Felix? What are you working on outside of Zebra that keeps you busy?
Well, I'm getting ready to wrap up my stuff with Cashmere. That's going to end soon for me because we have so much stuff going on with Zebra. My last date with them is on July 13th. And then I'm waiting to get the tracks that Randy are talking about that he and Guy have been going over. I haven't even touched any of that stuff yet. And I'm getting ready to renew some of the stuff that's from the second record that we haven't done in a while for the live show.
Okay. And Dayna, I wanted to jog your memory for just a second and get you to share with the listeners.
I'm almost eligible for Medicare. Go ahead, try.
We just had a memory conversation, didn't we? Where your connection or where you first met the band, or specifically Randy and Felix, since they're on this call.
You know, I was at KLOL. I was the music director. So I was the one the record companies would bring all these records in and say, you got to play this, you got to play this. They would bring me, I'd hear 100 different songs a week. Some were new, some they had brought in the week before. But just every once in a while, there was a song that you would go, Melissa Etheridge, Like the Way I Do. That's one that stands out. But Zebra is another one of those in my top 5 that, you've got 35 record reps waiting in the lobby to see you on a Wednesday afternoon. They only had one day a week to do this. They had like 10 minutes. Come on. Because it was all day long and they all had the same spiel and everybody had to get their record played or they're going to get fired, whatever. But then every once in a while, somebody would just say, listen to this one. And you put it on and go, wow. And it was just this lovely wall of sound that was different because so much of it sounded the same, the hair bands and everything. We still have Felix and his hair, but, I don't know. It was just something about it. And so, of course, when you become one of the first radio stations to play a song that becomes a hit, when the bands come to town, they're coming to see you. And I don't know. We all just sort of hit it off. And we have that infamous New Year's Eve story where I was emceeing the band at Cardi's, which was a club, but it was a big club, but it was the club you played. I mean, U2 played there when they were up and coming. The Police played there. Everybody played there. And I don't know, at midnight, for some reason or another, the band was drinking champagne out of my high heels. Maybe the last time I ever wore high heels. But it's a story that will not go away, Randy.
Okay.
It will not go away. And I became many things, but one of the things I became was a professional business speaker, a motivational speaker on business success. And I was getting ready to go on stage. One of my biggest speeches, I think I was I was on the circuit. So I was in Las Vegas, Chicago, or Orlando in front of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. And one of the two principals that was introducing me, we're standing backstage, we've been mic'd. It's very professional. It's a big deal. Leans over and says, I think you know my dad. And I was like, what? It's very professional. It's a business conference. And he goes, my dad says he drank champagne out of your shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, your dad's in Zebra. Ladies and gentlemen, Dayna Steele. I'm like, oh. And I think it must have been Guy's son. It was either Guy's or Randy's, but maybe it was Guy's. I was just like, what?
It could have been.
Funny.
Where did you say you were again? You were out west?
I was giving a speech in Orlando for a one of the biggest customer service conferences. And this lovely young man said, yeah, my dad said he drank champagne out of your shoes on New Year's Eve. And I was like, oh my God, your dad's in Zebra. Dad.
I have to take it by that. I have to take it by that comment. There's only been one band that ever drank out of your shoes, right?
Yeah. I mean, but my feet don't stink, so there.
Well, it was cool to hear kind of how you connected with the band and whatnot. And Randy, I don't know why I thought back to our conversation, and I was hoping that you would maybe give the Cliff Notes version of how Zebra, it was where I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, you sent a tape and I think it was an executive was listening to it in the car and he popped it out, didn't listen to it anymore. And when he did, there was a Zebra song on the radio, I think. You know what story I'm talking about here? Can you kind of share the cliff notes of that story?
Yeah, that was the president of Atlantic Records who had gotten a demo from a guy named Jason Flom, who wasn't even an A&R guy at the time at Atlantic. And the story is, and we didn't find this out till after we did the second record, was that, when Doug got the tape, Doug Morris, and he was the new president of Atlantic at the time. He had, because Atlantic had turned us down at that point already. We had been turned down a couple of years earlier, and we had the same demos. So trying to make this shorter, he's in a car going back home, being driven, and he's in the back, and there's, he plugs the tape in to listen to the song, and the first song on the tape is Who's Behind the Door. And it's got that 1 minute, guitar intro, and of course the record labels are always get to the hook. Well, there wasn't even a vocal at this point, so he just ejected the tape, and the radio station that was on the device was tuned into WBAB, which was the station that had been playing us, and they happened to be playing the song Who's Behind the Door right around the same area of the song that and he
that's great
been evidently and ejected it a couple of times to make sure, and finally he just listened to it on the radio.
Wow.
And and so at the end of the song the DJ said that's the top requested song here at the station for the last 2 months or whatever it was at that point, and Who's Behind the Door. And funny enough, Dayna was talking about how she heard the song in one of these Wednesday meetings, right, with all the records.
A marathon. It was a music marathon every Wednesday.
And that's kind of the same way that WBAB found us and helped us get a record deal. Was that this guy was telling you about, Jason Flom, was one of the record guys.
I remember him. I did.
Yeah, he's done fantastic. But he was there at the station at WBAB, I guess, with the rest of the record labels, and Bob Buckman, was listening to whatever Jason was throwing at him, and Bob said, "Listen, you need to check this band out." And Jason listened to the tape, liked it, took it back to Doug Morris, and then that's when we put together the vehicle that we broadcast the song to Doug Morris while he was going home.
That's great. He pushing the button. I thought I ejected this. He did.
You can't make that stuff up. It's crazy.
I was going to say, talk about the stars aligning, right? That is a prime example of the stars aligning right there, right?
Yeah. It's a crazy story, but I guess that's what it took to get us a record deal. Because we at that point we had tried. And
yeah, but you guys hustled. You put it out there. I post something across my social media every Monday, and it's a simple question: what do you need to succeed today? Do you need an introduction? Do you need an investor? Do you need information? What do you need? I probably can't help you, but why don't you just put it in writing and put it out there in the universe?
Sure.
So it's the same thing with music. When people go, how do I get it used to be, how do I get my boyfriend a record deal? Then it was, how do I get my son? Now it's like, how do I get my grandson a record deal? But it's never changed.
No.
It's make something really good and create a tribe. And Zebra had a tribe. Long before you had a record deal, you had a tribe. You had this group of fans, and you never gave up. You just kept going and going. And that's what I tell young bands and young performers all the time, or actors or writers or whatever. First of all, produce something that's good, like Zebra, like you guys did. And it's good, and you just keep putting it out there and putting it out there, because you never know who's going to be in the back of the limo listening to the radio. You just don't know.
You really
or who's going to be the number one DJ at KLOL at Houston, Texas.
That's right.
Or who's behind the door. There you go. You'll never know.
Well, I always thought that, I've heard a lot of stories since I started the podcast back in 2021. And Randy, when you told me that, when it stuck for some reason, I just always thought that was one of the coolest stories of kind of how you guys were discovered. One of those fate things that you were in the right place at the right time and the stars aligned and all of those things, right? It was just a cool story.
It really was, and in more ways than that too. You know, just the fact that, you know, Jason Flom had been sent there to promote an Atlantic record. The last thing that the record company would want him to do is bring back a tape of another band. You know, wait a minute, you're not an A&R guy, you know. The difference was that his dad was on the board of directors of Warner Communications, so he could just walk into the president's office. And that was just sheer luck, too, that he was the guy that got hold of it, you know, and brought it in, because it would have never happened otherwise.
Okay, so the debut record for Zebra came out roughly 41 years ago.
When I was 4.
When you were 4, that's correct, right? Make sure everybody knows that when Dayna was 4, the debut came out. And then you had
pigtails.
Yeah, right? So the debut was in 83. You had No Telling Lies in 84. You had 3.5 in 86. And then the live album in 90, right?
Correct.
Yes. And now I hear that there's rumors of not only new music, but a documentary too. Any truth to the rumors there?
Yeah, there's truth.
Which truth is he looking for?
I'm looking for whatever truth you want to share with the people that love Zebra. That's what truth I want. I can handle the truth.
So we can reveal a lot here. You know, we're doing a documentary, and we started off gung-ho with it. We got a lot. We already have a lot of interviews from people who weren't in the first documentary, and it's going to be, I think, what we're going to be doing. And we have stuff planned for some of the shows we're going to be doing this year, to record some of those shows and do a retrospective of the band, and include a little bit of what we're doing for the new record. It's not going to be like immediate. I don't even think it will be out this year, but I could see early next year. Now, the new album is going to be out this year.
Okay.
But,
God, I will pay money if anyone can find footage of that New Year's Eve for your documentary.
I know. I said.
We didn't have phones then.
No.
I think the last time I did a podcast with you, you were saying if anybody has any photographs, please send them in.
Yeah.
You know,
Nobody had pictures.
No cell phones back then, that's for sure.
No, Marty's been adamant about no cameras.
Yeah.
I want to ask Dayna. Dayna, do you remember what time?
No, this is your interview. What?
Well, I know, but it's part of it. It's Zebra related. Do you remember what time we actually went on that night?
Oh, God, no. I've done drugs since then. I have no.
Okay.
Wasn't it after 2?
It was close to 2 a.m. Yeah. And that's why by the time we hit the stage, we were pretty drunk. But if you don't remember when we went on, do you remember how long we played?
Oh, gosh, no.
No?
I just remember it was a fun night. Anytime I think of that night, I remember my smile muscles hurt because we were all just laughing and smiling. It was a perfect evening.
We rarely got drunk during a performance. I mean, in all the years we did, we were, we'd go on stage, we'd play, you might have a drink towards the end of the set, but not smash.
But you were professionals. No, we were all crazy that night.
We were trash. So it ended up being like 4 or 5 songs because I wasn't going to be able to go any further. I was sweating like a pig. My eyes were burning. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm playing, Felix and Guy are going to really be pissed off if I stop right now. But I said, I can't do it. So I turned to Felix and I said, tell me what you want. This is it. And I turned to look at Felix. I hadn't been looking at it too much. He's on the keyboards and he's like this.
I was probably thinking, oh, thank God, I can go home now.
That's what it was. As ready as I was. So, but starting at 2 o'clock in the morning was a little too late.
It was a fun time. It was a fun club. It was a magic time. It was magical people. It was just, it was a great time.
What was the delay? Was the culprit the booze, or what caused the delay in the show?
The club owner. He just didn't want it to end. And he figured if we went on at midnight and did an hour and a half set, it was going to be pretty much over.
Yep.
So he just kept playing us and delaying us. And then.
Yeah, we went well past curfew. Last call was like 1:45 in Houston then. It was 2:00. You were out. So that might have had a little bit to do with it, too, that we were waiting to all be busted at Cardi's.
Well, that wasn't the night when your gear was stolen, was it?
Oh, no.
That was a different time. Okay.
That was in 1980.
80. Okay. Wow. Well, it's been roughly...
Same town, though.
Yeah.
Rob Junkless, who wrote the song Walking in Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
Became a hit again. His stuff was all stolen one night from Cardi's.
Wow.
Because I remember I went on the air the next day and we found it.
Wow.
Yeah. I just, announced what we were looking for and they found it within an hour. But that's how big KLOL was and my audience was back then in that.
No doubt.
Nobody was listening to Spotify or their iPod or their iPad or their this or their that or their Pandora. They were listening to me.
Yep.
The fans were listening. The thieves were listening. The police were listening. It all came together.
We just had bad timing. We needed to get our record deal a little earlier.
Yep.
That's it.
Let's call Dayna.
See if Dayna can find it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been roughly 34 years since any new music came out, Randy. So I guess the thought there, whether it was 34 years or even 20-ish years, why the gap? Why the gap in, music then and you're going to do something new now? What's driving the new music now for you guys?
I've been telling people for the last 10 years we're doing a new record. And
wait, are you bullshitting me here? Like, are you really recording stuff right now?
yeah,
That's right. He started out by telling us it's all a lie.
Listen, I was going to say,
I don't expect anybody to really. I don't expect anybody to believe me now, but
Felix, is he lying? Felix, is he lying? Before we go any further.
Wait, lying about what, Randy?
New music, man, new music.
Well, I heard tell that he is right. But I have to admit, though, I haven't heard one track yet.
Shit.
that's not true.
Dayna, well, I guess I'll see you on the golf course on Thursday then. We'll adjourn this meeting right now then.
That's it. It's all over. They don't have an album. I have a question. 50 years.
Yes.
I mean, there are so many bands that would... that's just such a milestone, guys. Such a pleasure to know you and to have worked with you. But 50 years, that is a friggin' incredible milestone. If you had to give any advice to a band, an artist, somebody listening to this that's starting out, or maybe they've even been together 5-10 years, how do you get to 50 years and still have this friendship, this family, this music?
I'll let Felix start this one.
We had been in a couple of different bands together with each other, but every time that we got out and played, I don't think we paid as much attention to the music as we should have. And then Randy and Guy started practicing in my apartment, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it because we were in another band that was mine that broke up. And then they had invited a friend of theirs who was a keyboard player, and they kept bugging me, come on, let's play. And then that was called Maelstrom. That was one of Randy's friends, was a keyboard player named Tim Thorson. And then that band only stayed together about another year or so, if it lasted that long. And then, so then it was just him and Guy, and he kept saying, let's do. Randy says, let's do some Zeppelin, and and he had some original songs. And I think the biggest thing that we had going for us was Randy's father had a friend of his that had this warehouse across the street from where his dad worked, and we could practice in this warehouse as long as we wanted to. And after playing in so many of the different bands together before, we just spent so much time just working on the songs. Randy was very diligent about doing that with us. we didn't even try to get a gig for like 6 months. And I mean, when we practiced sometimes 4 or 5 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day. Guy would come from his job in the French Quarter, and we would meet there. I think Randy and both of us were still in college or whatever. And before we even asked a club owner to come down and come and take a look at us, we must have had, I guess, 20 or 30 songs together. Right, Randy? We were doing all the Wishbone Ash stuff and Zeppelin and Moody Blues and all kinds of different stuff.
By that point, I had counted that we had done
I think it's 30.
Over 60 different bands we were doing covers by, at the point that we called him down. And it just happened that Zeppelin was the thing that was the most requested, so we were in and up doing a lot more than that. And then some people ended up thinking we were a Zeppelin tribute band, but we used to play Robin Trower. We used to play BTO.
The fact that you could play all these things and that you were so well versed in it. I did an interview a few weeks ago with Danny Miranda, the bass player from Blue Oyster Cult, who was with Queen for some time. And he was actually playing the Queen musical in, I guess, Vegas when Brian May called him and said, we need you to fill in, at a little party the band's doing or something. It was a bunch of cover stuff. But because he was so well versed in all the cover stuff, that they were like, okay, well, if you can do that, can you do Queen? That's how he ended up playing with them. But it's like, I like that story, guys, because, don't just be able to play your stuff, be able to play the hits, play the classics.
Yeah.
If you can do what Robert Plant and Jimmy Page did, if you can do what Paul Rodgers and Bad Company did, if you can, it just makes you that much better with your stuff, don't you think?
I think that, learning covers and learning how to play other people's music and listening to other people's music and being able to translate it from the record to your guitar or to your voice is part of learning how to write songs.
Of course.
I mean, I think, Lennon and McCartney, they were so well versed in everybody else's music. They played so many, they covered so many people that had a lot to do with the songs that they wrote.
Same thing with the Stones, copying all the old blues artists.
Sure. And it was funny how when the Beatles came out, it became uncool to do, covers. I remember a time in the 60s and early 70s where, oh, no, we don't do any covers, and it's like, well, you're doing the wrong thing. You better rethink what you're doing, because if you can't play other people's music, your own music probably isn't going to be that great. It'd be very rare. So,
well, look at some of the biggest hits the Rolling Stones ever did. It's not their songs.
Right.
Yeah.
But I loved when they played Jazz Fest a month ago, whenever that was. He was Mick Jagger brought up the 80-year-old black grandmother.
Irma Thomas.
Yeah. Because I saw a tweet from somebody going, "That's my grandmother," and I'm like, "What?" But I mean, he was giving credit where credit was due, and so many of their
time is on my side. Time is on my side.
So many of their hits were covers.
Yep.
Yeah, and they did that on High Tide Green Grass, but they stole it from Irma because they loved playing in New Orleans. They had parties in New Orleans many times. Ahmet Ertegun would throw parties for them. In fact, I was at Cosmo Matas's studio. I was working there for doing cleanup stuff just to earn, recording time there, cleaning toilets and sweeping floors and running the elevator and all that stuff. And I brought Randy with me, and we snuck into the Rolling Stones party at the studio we were working at. And Cosmo Matassa was the engineer. Cosmo Matassa was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame about 2 or 3 years ago recently. He used to do Fats Domino and Little Richard and guys like that.
Now, if you want to hear the real story, it was.
And there was this lady there with a shoe.
Felix went to the Rolling Stones party. I was not there. Felix and I were at the Led Zeppelin party at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So, but I want to go back and answer the question that you originally asked, which was, how do you guys stay together for 50 years? And,
right.
Briefly, it's just that, I think after the first 5 years a band is together, that you pretty much know how everybody's going to be. And if you haven't broken up by then, you need to really accept and not expect, So
that is the best marriage advice.
Yeah,
Of course.
Of anyone.
it's exactly like a marriage, you know, and then you know you have to have a good sense of humor about the whole thing. I don't think, you know, if anybody takes it too seriously, that's a danger sign, you know, but you want to be, you know, professionals. I think another thing that really helped us get through 50 years was that politically we were pretty much on the same page with each other. So we weren't like, you know, if we had arguments, they were about, you know, other crap, you know, but we never had to deal with that. So.
But I'm not even going to touch that one.
Well, talking about the music, Randy and Felix, in true digital form, are you thinking that you guys would release some singles before you would release an entire album? Have you thought much about how you would release the songs?
It's possible. You know, everything, you know, we're kind of running the show. So, you know, if we think it's a good idea at the time, we might just release, you know, a song or two songs that, that'll be on the record and put them out there.
Sure.
The 20 years between the last record and this record, I think really had to do with more about our age and, you know, the fact that we were just kind of like, I was enjoying myself at home. You know, we were playing a lot and I was still performing a lot. And that was where the money was coming from. You know, we had really not made a whole lot from the records because that was the nature of the record deal we had. So, you know, we were still creating. I was still writing songs and just putting it off because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And, until this year. So there's really no excuse other than that.
You talked about being at home, and it kind of jogged my memory. I remember you were pretty prolific during the pandemic of playing your online shows. I guess that was a good subsidizing of income for you. Did that work out well for you, the live shows that you would play on Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, listen, people were generous. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't charging a ticket or anything, but, you know, once I started and saw that, you know, people were you know, just donating the money, it was great. And, but the main thing is that for me mentally, it was a great thing to do every day.
Yeah.
It kept me focused and, you know, kept my chops up.
Of course.
Because you gotta keep that stuff going. Because if you don't use it, you know, you're going to lose it.
It's like a muscle, right?
It really helped me.
But it also kept the fans
engaged,
alive.
Yep.
It did as much for your brain and your psyche as it did for the fans, for you, for Melissa Etheridge, for pianist Billy Stritch in New York, people who just sort of developed a following. But you didn't do it to do that. You did it to, we have the technology, we might as well do something with it. And you guys gave people like us who were just, you know, out there floundering and couldn't go to concerts, couldn't go out and do anything. It was really special when, you know, you do things like that.
Yeah, I you know, I still have people coming up to me all the time just saying, you know, how much it helped them during the pandemic. But, you know, I think it also inspired some people to think outside of the box. You know, I
shaved my head live on TV during it, but you know, you can only do that once, and then you got to wait a few more months for it.
Well, Randy, were you kind of a techie before COVID, or did you kind of just say, you know what, I'm going to learn some of the stuff and go online and do the Facebook Live stuff, or did the techie stuff come later, or did you kind of know that?
I was a techie guy in 1973, 74. I had to know how everything was going to work, and I was really anal about it. So that wasn't a big transition for me. I had to learn a lot, you know, about video and stuff and synchronization, but it wasn't as hard as it would have been if I didn't know anything. You know, I knew a lot.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with Gary Peel, who played with Boston, and Sammy Hagar? Because another just big techie guy. I mean, just, you know.
Well, there's a lot
of it, not just the guitar, but the amps and the sound and the social media and the photography and the video and everything.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's addictive, you know, all of it. And you know, I haven't really completely dived into AI yet. I've done a little bit, but it's, I'm looking at, what's going on right now. And I think that the next year, for me, the next 18 months maybe, are going to be the last time that you're really going to be able to trust your eyes, because it's going to be so good. And, it already is that good, but it's going to be so good and in so many people's hands, everybody's going to have it.
And your ears too. I asked AI to create an interview, a short interview on a certain subject between me and an artist who was a very good friend who's recently deceased. And it did. And where it pulled my voice from and his voice could be found easily. Where it pulled my voice from, I don't know, but it was spooky.
Yeah,
it was like this friend coming back from the dead to do an interview. So I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to ever ask it to do that ever again.
Wow.
That was a little bizarre.
It's really going to change how people get their information, because they're going to call everything a lie, and they're going to have to be other ways that we verify what we're seeing and what we're hearing, especially if it's something that's serious.
Yeah, there was a political speech yesterday that, there have been some segments posted and people have said, oh, that's AI, and it's not.
Yeah.
But how are we going to be able to say that is and that isn't, and then convince people that is and that isn't? So yeah, we've got to find our ways around it, but we found our way, beyond the horse and buggy. We'll find our way.
Well, what's really weird is like it's actually coming along more like Max Headroom than it ever has.
Yeah.
It's like Max Headroom. Everybody was really like upset. They either loved Max Headroom or they were scared to death of him, and they were really making fun of the Talking Heads thing,
Sure.
And he was so weird because he was, I don't know exactly what he was. He was kind of like part animated, part real guy. And at that time, it was pretty spooky.
For sure it was. And I work in the technology industry as my real job. And the way it's changing, cybersecurity and AI, it's a lot to keep up with. Even living in that world day in and day out, it's a lot to keep up with. A lot of it's very fabulous.
This is too heavy. You said the key words though, Randy. You said real job. That's my question. In 50 years. Okay, starting with Felix. Felix, real job. Yeah. You've been a band for 50 years. Have you had to have a real job in there?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. There was times where, we weren't making much money and you had to pay the mortgage. I sold cars, I sold appliances, I sold real estate, whatever it was. I'd be at an appliance store and people are coming up to me asking me, what am I doing there? And I said, I'm paying my mortgage,
right.
Because they think you're a millionaire,
Yep.
But
Randy, what about you? What were your real jobs over the last 50 years?
Well, the one real job outside of music completely, because I had a lot of jobs in music, was my father's. What do I want to say? I'm going to say my uncle-in-law, let's say, roped me into what do they call it? What the down line and the up line? I can't even think right now. I'm losing it.
Are you talking about the phone company thing?
Yeah, the phone thing. But it's called it's
a scheme
or a multi-level marketing. That's what it's called.
It's a pyramid.
Pyramid thing. Oh no, you got roped into one of those.
Oh yeah, and I was pretty successful at it. But I started to really understand how it worked mathematically, and that you're really taking advantage of people, and it's just unethical. It's terrible, and you really are selling nothing to people, and trying to be a salesman. And it wasn't great from that aspect. I did okay. I was pretty successful, but it had more to do with where I was coming from and able to get people to listen to what I was saying. And I learned to be a fast talker, but I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
And
I asked Earl Slick, the guitarist for David Bowie and John Lennon and whatever. Slick's another one that I've known as long as you guys. And I asked him, because he sold real estate for a while in Lake Tahoe. He just put the guitar down and said, I'm done. I'm burned out. I'm done. And I said, what was the hardest part? He said, a resume. They told me I needed a resume. And he goes, What am I going to put on a resume? Past employers, David Bowie, John Lennon. He goes, nobody's going to believe that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, that was the same way for me. I had no background other than to, play music. So it's kind of, I think I made stuff up.
Yeah, you can do that.
Well, I think there's a lot of artists that I think the facade of the music business is that, you have people out there with 90, 100, 200,000 followers. And you think these people are probably making money hand over fist, but it's a grind. Number one, I had Tony Carey from Rainbow on my show, and we got into a pretty in-depth conversation about how the music business changed from the Rainbow days to current time. And he said, musicians are T-shirt salesmen these days. Like it's, you made all your money on the records back in the day. Now it's merch.
Yeah, or touring. So.
Yeah, it's changed.
For musicians, I always tell guitar players that are just guitar players, I tell them, learn how to sing, learn how to play a bass, learn how to play the keyboard, be as versatile as you can, because that's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to call you up looking for some other gig, for somebody else in a gig, and you could have done it if you just worked at it. So, I've been fortunate enough to be able to do a lot of different things along the way. And I just had that one period where I, got focused on that multi-level marketing scheme. But, the musicians I know that make a living doing it, they don't even have to have record deals. They just have to be versatile. They do studio work.
Sure.
They perform live a lot. They can, like Dayna was saying, Danny Miranda. I mean, you can call him up and he'll sub for whoever you want him to. The show.
And he'll know your songs, and he can play more than the bass. He can play whatever you need him to play.
Yeah, you can't be a one-trick pony, right? You have to be a little diverse to be relevant. And when you
one-trick zebra.
Yeah, exactly. A striped pony. A striped pony. Well, you said something about the bass guitar, and it made me think, I'm sure you guys were privy to the passing of Leon Medica recently from LaRue, right?
I didn't know he had passed.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Just like a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And I knew, all you guys are Louisiana Music Hall of Fame guys, and in LaRue, you guys were all playing in each other's backyards there. And
we did many shows together.
Yeah, sure.
I saw signs of it last time. I saw signs of it last time we played together, and the guys in the band kind of let me know that, because you could tell it was classic Alzheimer's, and I know Dayna knows a lot about the Alzheimer's.
Way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah.
The unintended expert in it. So.
Yeah. Dayna, were you familiar with the band LaRue out of Louisiana?
I mean, I know who they were, and I was probably most familiar with them because of my friendship with Sid Arroyo from Vince Vance and the Valiants, who were, he would hate to hear me say this, but they weren't like a real band. But they were a really fun band. But, we're going to hear a lot more of that. I think we don't hear as much as we maybe hear in the general public, because music rewires your brain in such a fantastic way. Why do Alzheimer's patients come alive when you start singing? Why did my mom come alive when she would hear a Methodist hymn? That's, one of the great things about music. So the fact that he was able to play music up until his final days.
Well, that was true.
It's a fantastic thing.
Of Glenn Campbell, too. His wife, when they took him on tour that one last time, I thought it was really touching because they let the audience know where he was at that moment, whether they wanted to buy a ticket or not, and what was going to happen. And they taped the whole thing, and it was really very intriguing because he would be at a place like Westbury Music Fair or some venue, and he would stop the band saying, "Nope, I think you made a mistake," and he would start them all as if he was like rehearsing in a studio for the show.
Wow.
And, and then
Tony Bennett could not function at the end, but he could still do his entire show standing at the piano.
Yeah.
So,
Felix, you know what they said about Glenn Campbell too, and I think his daughter mentioned this. Towards the end, he had teleprompters for everything because he couldn't remember the lyrics. But she said night after night, he would get on stage and he never, ever missed a note on the guitar, ever.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Couldn't remember the lyrics, but the guitar
the
never.
The lesson here is keep playing music.
Yeah,
just keep
sure.
playing music, even after 50 years, guys.
100%.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be doing. We'll be coming to your porch soon.
I'll go buy a new pair of shoes, babe.
There you go.
There you go.
We touched on the documentary for you guys, and I wanted to mention also that Dayna, you were recently in a documentary as well about the rise and fall of 101 KLOL, right?
Yeah, it was. It's been a lot of fun. First of all, it's great to have something to hand to my 3 grown sons and go, see, I was cool. But I just finished watching the 4-part Thank You, Good Night, the documentary about John Bon Jovi, who he never expected his vocal journey to be a part of this documentary when they started filming it. So I'm thrilled you guys are doing this. And, put the good, put the bad, put the ugly, put the sweet, put everything in there because, yeah, I'm a DJ and all of that, but I'm a music fan. Mm-hmm. And watching the KLOL documentary, could I separate myself from it? Yes, because it was the station I grew up listening to. And to end up being one of their top jocks later on was just icing on the cake. But put everything in there because the fans love it. I love how honest John has been about the loss of his voice and trying to get it back. So put it all in there. Because we do want to see it and we do love it. And we love to see that our heroes and the people we love so much like you and like the band Zebra, that you are like us and that you had your ups and your downs and your goods and your bads. And but definitely do it. I think it's so great for your fans and for your family and your kids and your grandkids. And just also future generations to have it to go back and look at.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go, this is how this band did it. Because again, you're getting ready to celebrate 50 years. Come on.
Yeah.
That's freaking fantastic.
That's a milestone for sure. I mean, even 10 years together as a band is a long time. You just don't see them sticking around.
3 months together with a band. hey, I'd never been with anybody longer than 6 weeks when I married Charlie, and that was 34 years ago. So you just never know who's going to stick.
The Wonder Husband, right?
Yes.
Yes, the Wonder Husband, man. Wow.
You said top 5 a minute ago, Zebra for you. And I was going to say, and I think I mentioned to all 3 of the guys in Zebra when I talked to them, probably, that debut album was top 3 of all time for me, just front to back. When you talk about a song, the first song to the last song, right. top 3 for me. And another one of that top 3 was So Fired Up from LaRue. So 2 Louisiana bands there for me. So I just wanted to remind you guys of the compliment there and say that, you've always meant a lot to me over the years, all the way back from.
And for somebody listening to this and, listening to learning about Zebra for the first time, go back and listen to that. Put your AirPods in, make sure you got them, everything's good. Do noise cancellation and listen to the wall of sound from beginning to end.
It's awesome.
Because it's an incredible wall of sound that just fills your soul.
I agree with that 100%.
That's so sweet. Wow.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. But I loved New Orleans Ladies. That song just really, and Take a Ride on a Riverboat. Those 2 songs in particular are just fantastic to me. Well,
I think for me, So Fired Up, Fergie Fredrickson was one of the best. He went on and played with Toto for a while, and just one of the most awesome tenor voices in rock and roll, I think. So, yeah, I've always been a big fan. Talk to the listeners real quick about upcoming shows for Zebra, if you'd be so kind.
I happen to actually have a list right in front of me.
Voila.
Oh, good. Shoot it, Randy. Shoot it.
I'm going to, but, of course, me and my lack of tech here. Let's see.
No, you.
Now he's going to say he's not technical.
You can't be both in one interview.
You're either technical or you're not, Randy. You can't keep flip-flopping back and forth.
I put it on his computer, and now he can't find it.
No. It was right. It was right up just a second ago, and now it looks like
you want me to do it? I have it right in front of me.
Okay, good. You do it right now, Felix. Go.
Okay. So actually, this weekend, June 14th, we're at the Basement East in Nashville, Tennessee. Then June 15th, we're at Graceland Live in Memphis, Tennessee. And June 16th, we're at the Hall in Little Rock, Arkansas. And after that, we pick back up in September at the Tally-Ho Theater in Leesburg, Virginia. That's September 6th. September 7th, we're at the Lamp Theater in Irwin, PA, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. September 14th, we're at the Florida Theater in Jacksonville, Florida. And October 3rd is the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano, California. And I want Dayna to go to that one. Okay. And then we're going to be going October 4th at the Canyon Club in Montclair, California, and the Canyon Club in Agora Hills, California. Which one's closer, Dayna? And then October 18th is the Newton Theater in Newton, New York. The 19th is Mulcahy's right here in Wantagh. November 10th is 37 Main in Beaufort. And then we're playing the Fillmore in New Orleans on November 22nd and November 23rd. And then we have the Bergen Pack Performing Arts Center in Inglewood, New Jersey on the 13th of December. The 27th of December, the Capitol Theater in Clearwater, Florida. And then the Plaza Live in Orlando, Florida, December 28th. That's all.
No New Year's show? Good. I don't have to buy any.
No new hills for you.
Well, I'll give you the 2025 schedule now. Okay.
I'm a little busy until November 5th, a very specific date. But maybe after that, I can come catch some dates.
Didn't you guys have something scheduled in St. Charles, Illinois? Did I miss that one, Felix? At the Arcada?
The Arcada. Yeah, that's the November.
Oh, the Arcada. Okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Have you guys played there before? Is this?
Yeah, we actually played with Angel there the last time.
Okay,
we played there.
That's a great venue. I went up to St. Charles to see my friends Bethany Heavenstone and Graham Bonnet play there last year. I like that venue. It's really cool.
Did you get the chance to go upstairs?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what level it was on. We ate dinner on one of the levels.
Upstairs, there's like a hideaway, what'd you call the things? Forget what they call.
Yeah, the speakeasy.
Speakeasy, right? Yeah. You had to press the button to get behind the bookcase and all that.
I did not go there, but I heard about it for sure.
Okay.
Remind the listeners real quick where, for Randy and Felix, where the listeners can find you guys on social media.
They can get a hold of me at Twitter at Felix _ at Zebra, at Felix _ Zebra.
Okay.
For Twitter, or X as they call it now.
And my stuff is pretty simple. It's Randy Jackson Zebra on Facebook, or Randy Jackson of Zebra on Facebook. I have the Twitter is, I think, at Randy Jackson Zebra. And if you type in Randy Jackson Zebra, you usually find where we are. There's a bunch of different Zebra sites on Facebook. And the actual Zebra site, let's see, I can go there right now because I don't even know what that is. Zebra Band.
Okay.
And, it's Zebra Rock Band.
Okay, Zebra Rock Band
is the Facebook. And if you want to go to the Zebra website, it is at zebraband.com. You could also go to thedoor.com.
Okay.
But we decided to go with zebraband.com from here on out, and we're going to sell thedoor.com to some religious group for about $10 million. So.
Good for you.
Is that a true story?
Felix, no, that is not a true story. Randy said, you never know. He's always stepping right outside the line.
Right.
DaynaSteele.com is for sale for that much.
Right.
Okay. Dayna Steele.
Just saying. $10 million. It's
the logo
yours.
is a shoe with champagne in it.
There you go. I'll give you some shoes, a bottle of champagne, and a website. $10 million.
Well, now that we're on the Dayna topic, Dayna, you remind the listeners where you can be found. You busybody, you got so much stuff going on, but educate us on
at Dayna Steele across the board. DaynaSteele. And DaynaSteele.com. So pretty easy. Just type in Dayna Steele on Google, and some will be good, some will be bad, some will be interesting, some will have clothes, some won't. There you go.
Well, guys, listen, as always, I think I speak for all of the Zebra fans out there when I say we look forward to the new material that you guys have in the pipe. So we can't wait to get our hands on that. Thank you both for taking the time to catch up with me and the global listeners of Backstage Pass Radio. Dayna, thank you for being a sweet friend and for joining me on the mic for this episode. I appreciate you, and I look forward to playing a little golf with you on Thursday. You guys.
Laughter.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't burn up. But anyway, you guys make sure to keep an eye out for all things Zebra and Dayna on all things social media. I ask the listeners to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on Facebook at Backstage Pass Radio Podcast, on Instagram at Backstage Pass Radio, and on the website at BackstagePassRadio.com. You guys remember to take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you right back here on the next episode of Backstage Pass Radio.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Backstage Pass Radio. Make sure to follow Randy on Facebook and Instagram at Randy Halsey Music and on Twitter at @RHalseyMusic. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on alerts for upcoming podcasts. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to share the link with a friend and tell them Backstage Pass Radio is the best show on the web for everything music. We'll see you next time right here on Backstage Pass Radio.